Have you ever noticed something strange? The moment you start spending more time alone, people get uncomfortable. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you're no longer playing the game everyone else is playing. Think about it. The person who constantly needs attention is considered normal. The person who constantly seeks approval is considered healthy. The person who cannot sit alone with their own thoughts is considered socially connected. But the person who enjoys solitude, the person who doesn't need constant validation, the person who can sit quietly with a book, a journal, or their own thoughts, that person often gets labeled as strange, antisocial, detached, different. And that raises an important question. What if society isn't afraid of lonely people? What if society is afraid of independent people? Today we're going to explore why solitude has become one of the most misunderstood forms of power in modern life, and why the ability to be alone may be one of the most dangerous qualities a person can develop. Look around. Modern life is built on a simple message. You are incomplete. Every advertisement tells you something is missing. Every influencer tells you something needs fixing. Every app promises connection. Every platform demands attention. The message is always the same. You need more. More followers, more validation, more approval, more recognition, more consumption. But here's the problem. A person who constantly needs something can be controlled. If I control your need for approval, I control your behavior. If I control your fear of rejection, I control your choices. If I control your need to belong, I control your identity. The easiest person to manipulate is the person who cannot stand alone. One of the biggest mistakes people make is confusing loneliness with solitude. They are not the same thing, not even close. Loneliness says, I am missing something. Solitude says, I am enough. Loneliness comes from lack. Solitude comes from wholeness. A lonely person desperately searches for someone to fill the void. A person in solitude learns how to become complete before inviting others into their life. And that difference changes everything. Because when you stop needing others to complete you, you begin choosing relationships instead of depending on them. Here's an uncomfortable truth. People often say they want you to succeed. But many people only support your success as long as it doesn't challenge their own comfort. The moment you become more independent, more confident, more self-directed, something changes. Your existence becomes a mirror. Without saying a word, you remind people of the risks they didn't take, the dreams they abandoned, the potential they ignored. And mirrors make people uncomfortable. This is why some people criticize growth. Not because growth is wrong, but because growth forces them to confront their own choices. History is full of people who understood this. Philosophers, writers, inventors, leaders, warriors. Many of them spent enormous amounts of time alone, not because they hated people, but because solitude creates something rare: clarity. When you're alone long enough, you begin hearing your own voice. Not your family's voice, not society's voice, not social media's voice. Your voice. And that's where real transformation begins. Because most people spend their lives living according to expectations they never consciously chose. Solitude creates space to question those expectations, to challenge them, and sometimes to completely abandon them. There is a reason people who think differently often feel isolated. Every group develops rules. Every culture develops expectations. Every tribe develops beliefs. And anyone who questions those beliefs risks becoming an outsider. But here's what most people never realize. Being an outsider is often the first sign that you're thinking for yourself. The people who change the world rarely begin by fitting in. They begin by asking questions. Why are we doing this? Why is this considered normal? Who benefits from this belief? And those questions often lead them away from the crowd. Now here's the strange part. The moment you stop desperately seeking attention, people start paying attention. The moment you stop chasing approval, you become more respected. The moment you stop needing validation, you become more attractive. Why? Because desperation repels. Confidence attracts. And genuine confidence isn't loud. It isn't arrogance. It isn't performance. It's the quiet understanding that your value does not depend on someone else's opinion. That energy changes every relationship, every friendship, every business interaction, every opportunity. So who is the most dangerous person in the room? Not the loudest, not the richest, not the most popular. The most dangerous person is the one who cannot be manipulated through fear, approval, or validation. The person who can walk away, the person who can think independently, the person who can sit alone without feeling empty. That person is difficult to control. And difficult to control people have always made systems uncomfortable. Because freedom begins the moment dependency ends. If there's one lesson to remember from today's discussion, it's this. Solitude is not weakness. Solitude is training. It is the place where self-respect grows, where independence develops, where clarity emerges, and where authenticity begins. The goal is not to isolate yourself from the world. The goal is to become strong enough that your relationship with the world becomes a choice rather than a necessity. Because the strongest people are not the ones who need everyone. They're the ones who have learned how to stand alone. And when you can truly stand alone, you become impossible to control. If this idea resonated with you, let me know in the comments. Do you see solitude as loneliness or as strength? And if you're interested in deeper discussions around psychology, individuality, self-mastery, and becoming who you truly are, follow Black Sheep Psychology for future videos. Until next time, stand tall, think for yourself, and stop asking permission to become who you are.